Next chapter, book club friends. Well, the time got away from Max and me this evening, so it's a little later. And I'm going to read you a shorter story called Puss in Boots. And this is Once Upon a Time Tales. And also in our email, I'll share a story that Maddie reads for us. And then I believe Max is going to read for us tonight, too. So, here we go. And we see our lovely Puss in Boots here, dressed up quite nicely, having a lounge and some good things to eat. So let's see how he got that way. All right. Once upon a time, there was a poor country man who raised 3 sons. When the man died, the 3 agreed to divide up the few things he owned. The oldest took his house, the middle son got his donkey, and the youngest son was left with only his father's cat. "What on earth will I do with a cat?" moaned the young man, for he could barely keep himself fed and had nothing to offer a pet. The cat overheard him and answered, "Don't worry, master. If you give me a sack and a pair of boots, you'll find that you have the most valuable things your father ever owned." The youngest son, feeling that he had nothing to lose, gave the cat what he asked. And here is the son and the cat having that chat. And you'll see the other son here going off with his donkey. And the oldest one with his house. Oops, house. The cat put on the old pair of boots and took the sack to a place where he knew many fat rabbits came to find dinner. Soon enough, Puss had caught a plump brown rabbit in a sack. He carried his catch straight to the castle and asked to see the king himself. When he was brought before the king, the puss bowed low and offered the king the nice fat rabbit, saying, "Sire, please accept this gift from my master, the Duke of Carabas," for that is the name he had chosen for his master. "Thank your master for me," answered the king. Several days later, the cat returned and gave the king a pair of white doves, and a few days later he brought a dozen quail eggs. And here he is bowing before the king in his boots, because he's Puss in Boots. Each time he presented his gifts, Puss told the king that the presents were from the Duke of Carabas. After several weeks of this, the cat learned that the king and his daughter would be riding along the riverside. Puss went to his master and told him to take off his shirt and breeches and stand in the river near the bridge at noon the next day. Trusting the cat, his master did as he was asked. At noon, as the king's carriage crossed the bridge, Puss cried out, "Help! My master, the Duke of Carabas, is drowning!" The king knew the cat and the name of the Duke well enough, and he ordered his guards to save the man. There he is, getting pulled out of the water. Puss told the king that his master's clothes had been stolen, so the king sent for an extra suit of his own clothes. The Duke looked quite handsome in the fine clothes. The king's daughter, who was very beautiful, told him so. The king invited the Duke. Now remember, the Duke is just the poor son, but king and the daughter don't know that, do they? The king invited the Duke to ride with him, and the cat ran ahead of the royal coach, quite pleased with himself. Puss ordered every farmer and worker he met on the road, "You must tell the king that the land you work on belongs to the Duke of Carabas. If you do not, the ogre who lives in that far castle will chop you into tiny pieces." When the king stopped to ask whose land he crossed, he heard, "The Duke of Carabas," no matter how far he went. Oh, that tricky puss, that tricky kitty, telling everybody they better say it belongs to the Duke of Carabas, or they'll get chopped up by the ogre. You certainly have a lot of land, the king said to the duke. The princess smiled at him, and the new duke smiled back, not having the least idea what was happening. He was thinking how beautiful the princess was. At last, Puss came to the great castle, which really did belong to the ogre, and so did all the lands they had passed through. Puss knew all about the ogre and went right into the castle and asked to see him. Soon enough, the cat was brought before the ogre. Now here is our pretend duke riding in the carriage with the king and the princess, and there is the ogre's castle. And here, I'll just go ahead and show you this picture. Here is Puss meeting with that ogre. Boy, he is kind of big and scary looking, isn't he? It is said that you can take the shape of any animal you choose, said Puss to the ogre. That you can, if you wish, turn yourself into a lion. True enough, said the ogre proudly, and he did just that. The cat, seeing a fierce lion suddenly appear, was so frightened that he jumped up on a tall cupboard. But his boots slipped out from under him, and he slid right back down. The ogre turned right back into an ogre again. Puss admitted that he had been quite frightened and complimented the ogre on his skill. People also say that you can change yourself into the tiniest of creatures, said Puss, but that is impossible. Surely you cannot change into a mouse. Impossible, cried the ogre. Watch this, and he changed himself into a mouse right then and there. Well, of course, Puss, being a cat, gobbled him up in one bite. He got tricked and eaten. Just then the king's carriage arrived at the castle. Puss ran to meet it, saying, "Welcome, sire, to the castle of the Duke of Carabas." "Why, is this your castle, my friend?" the king asked the duke. "May we come in?" The duke only smiled and turned to help the princess out of the carriage. At the cat's order, the ogre's servants gave the guests a wonderful meal. While they ate, it was decided that the princess should marry the rich Duke of Carabas right away, since it's plain the two were in love. As for the Puss of Boots, he became a great lord and never had to hunt for mice again, except sometimes for fun. And there he is. That's kind of, oopsie. That's kind of that picture we saw at the beginning. Sorry. There we go. That's better. And you can kind of see there, gosh, I'm not even pointing at it. He's got fish bones under there and his bowl of milk. He's having a pretty good life there. All right. Well, shorter story this evening, but hope you guys are doing well, and I'm so looking forward to next week when we get to try online Next Chapter Book Club together and read Because of Winn-Dixie. So yay, that should be fun. Yeah, so stay healthy and well, and hope to see you next Thursday from 4 to 5 if it works out for you. Talk to you later. Bye.